What do I like and what do I hate about driving an electric vehicle right now? These days, there's some things I love and some things I hate, so let's go over those. Hi, my name is Mike. I'm from Greenway Electric and I've been driving electric vehicles since 2013. But right now, there's a few things that really get on my nerves, and I thought I'd share them here with you and let me know if you've got the same issues as well. But there's a few things I love as well. So let me start with something positive. And one of the things I really love about the electric vehicles is that they're fairly inexpensive to drive. And especially in the area where I'm in, I can get hydroelectric power and it is 9 cents per kilowatt hour. And I'm located in Canada, so 9 cents is about 6 US cents per kilowatt hour, which is fairly inexpensive. And conversely, gasoline is quite expensive here. It's around $1.45 to $1.50 per liter, which is close to $6 a gallon. And so the difference between purchasing gasoline and purchasing electricity to fill up my electric car is significant. And therefore, I'm saving quite a bit of money by driving an electric vehicle. So that's something I really like about the electric vehicle. And in addition to that, I can charge it conveniently at home and I don't need to stop at the gas station. So I'm able to just go home, plug it in, and it may take a few hours to charge, but I'm not there standing beside it. I just plug it in, it takes me 10 seconds, and it's full in the morning. So that's something I really like about my electric vehicle. Okay, so now it's the bad part. This is something I really hate about driving electric vehicles right now, and that is the unreliability of the public charging network, especially when it comes to level 3 high-speed charging at destinations or on the highway. Now, Tesla actually has a pretty good reliability rate with their chargers, and so I can't really complain about them. I had a road trip recently and it went very smoothly. All the Tesla chargers worked. But just this past weekend, I did a trip in another electric vehicle and it was using CHAdeMO, which I know is an older standard. But the charging pedestal I was using had level 3 CHAdeMO and CCS. It had a cable for each. And I went to plug my vehicle in and it said it was starting and it just never worked. It just failed. So I tried it again and I unplugged it and plugged it back in. I played with the app. I played with the charging pedestal, with the start button and the stop button, and trying with that. And eventually, after a couple of attempts at that one, I gave up and I moved my car immediately to the spot beside where the other charging pedestal was, and that one worked the first time. And that experience is quite consistent with what I've experienced with public charging in the past. I was also recently at an IKEA store and they have public charging there as well. That's a J1772 level 2 charging, and they had 2 cables available for customer use. And I went to plug my car in and guess what? Didn't work. And it kept trying to connect and it was trying, and whatever happened, I don't know. But there was another charging cable available next to me and it was being occupied by somebody else. So I know that particular one was working, and the one, of course, that was unoccupied, it was not working. So it's something that is frustrating right now, and I really hope that the different charging providers will be ramping up their game and doing a lot more maintenance on their stations, making sure they're working properly, working well, the software works well. And alongside of that, I guess, is the whole thing of fumbling with an app and fumbling with payment and a card or all these different things. The Tesla does really good. You just plug it in and you go. It's very quick, very easy. And the other ones, there always seems to be some fumbling and it takes a while for it to get started. Once it works, then I'm good. But there's a 50-50 chance that when you go plug your car in at one of these public charging stations, it's just not going to work, and that's just not fun. So let's switch back to something I really love, and that is the longer range of the newer electric vehicles. Back in 2013, when I first started driving electric vehicles, only Teslas had long range, and every other vehicle, and there weren't very many choices, were short range vehicles, and they were really just for city commuting and really not for any long range or trips. So I'm really enjoying now that there's some longer range vehicles out there and they are suitable for road trips. And as long as the charging pedestal is working, charging station is working, then you can have a nice road trip. So I'm really enjoying the longer ranges, and back in the day, my very first electric vehicle had a 16 kilowatt hour battery. It was a Mitsubishi i-MiEV. That was the tiniest car, tiniest battery, and but it was affordable, and that's what I picked. But it was only a city car, so we couldn't take road trips with it. So I'm really enjoying now that there's such a wide selection of vehicles available, and they're road trip capable, and they have really long ranges, and you have a lot of choice. So it's really an improvement over the past more than 10 years. Something else that comes up from time to time that I really don't like is sometimes I'll be meeting someone, or they'll mention electric vehicles, or somehow that topic will come up, and they'll try to convince me that electric vehicles are not for me. They'll tell me that I wouldn't want to buy one of those, and I say, well, actually I own one, and they say, oh, I'm sure you'll find out soon enough that it was the wrong decision and you'll want to switch back to your gas vehicle. And it's disappointing that they're trying to convince me that I made the wrong choice, when in fact I made the choice myself, and I've done it for more than a decade, and it's the right choice for me. So I appreciate everyone having their opinion, and I'm certainly not telling everyone that they have to drive an EV if they don't want to. I want people to pick the car of their own choice. Car, truck, van, whatever it is, gas or diesel or electric. But for me, I know what works for me, and I'm quite satisfied and happy with my choice. I've saved, I'll go back to this point again. I've saved thousands of dollars in fuel over the years, thousands, tens of thousands, because I do drive a lot, and it's just saved me so much money in that way, and all that in addition to how much fun they are to drive. So maybe I'll switch back to something positive. They are pretty fun to drive. Even some of the smaller EVs, they're pretty small cars, but they have lots of power, lots of torque right off the line. They have, they can go pretty quick. They're pretty nimble, and in city traffic, there's no waiting when you see the green light at the traffic light. You can press the accelerator, and it's going to speed up pretty quick, and it keeps up with traffic pretty easy. Some people might say that at the top end, when you're going over 60 miles an hour or 100 kilometers per hour, they don't have a lot of passing power. I find they're pretty good, and to be honest, I don't do a lot of passing at that speed anyway. Most of the roads are 4 lanes anyway, so I really enjoy the power, the zippiness, and the quickness of the vehicle, and that's something that's a lot of fun or just a lot of fun to drive. I guess I'll switch back to a negative item. It's something I hate right now as well about the current state of EVs. Is, again, I guess I'm going to go back to those public charging stations. So 50% of the time they don't work, but then there's also not enough of them. Really, there's a lot of areas that are not serviced very well, especially where I am in Canada. There's a lot of remote areas that just simply do not have any level 3 public charging, and there's significant portions of the highways that don't have that available. And I really hope that they do start installing a lot more of those. It really prevents a lot of drivers from going in certain areas, and I have lots of rural areas that are just not serviced by them, so it's just not possible to drive the electric vehicles unless you make some special arrangements with your destination, to plug in on their wall outlet or something along those lines. But really, I hope that there's a lot of improvement in the number of public charging stations, especially the level 3 charging stations. Level 2 stations are fine, but they're no good for road trips. They're good for destination charging in hotels or malls or shopping, that sort of thing, supermarkets. But really, the level 3s are really what opens up the world to you and allows you to travel anywhere. So I really am hoping that there's going to be continued installation of more of these charging stations. And the positive thing is I can see it going in the right direction. So there are a lot more installed right now than there used to be. Back when I got my first EV, there was zero. There were 0 charging stations, level 3 charging stations anywhere within driving range of me. And then probably about 3 years after I got my first EV, they did install a level 3 50 kilowatt charger at a local college, which was great. But there was still a long time before any additional charging stations came around. So I really hope they do continue that, and that's really going to change how the functionality of electric vehicles goes. I know in certain areas your public charging is probably a lot more mature, a lot more charging stations available, especially if you're in a very populated area. So you're probably not experiencing that like I am. But I hope that we can continue to build out this charging infrastructure and make it easier and more convenient for road trips. All right, let's do another positive thing. One thing I really like about my electric vehicle is it does cause some conversation with folks I meet and run into, whether it's at a charging station or just when I'm parking the car at the grocery store, or if I go to car shows. There's lots of discussion, lots of questions, and it's a great way to talk to new people who are curious and want to ask some questions about the cars. So I'm always running into people who have questions about them, and I'm happy to answer those. Really excited to explain what it's like to drive these vehicles, and once they hear I've been driving them for more than a decade, then they know that it's possible to do. It's not something that I tried for a couple of months and realized I did the wrong thing. So it's great to meet new people and at car shows, and often at car shows there's lots of the classic vehicles, of course, mostly gas powered. And then there's a couple of us electric vehicle types that are around too, just trying to squeeze our way in there and to show what some of the new technology. And speaking of new technology, I really am enjoying a lot of the features that the newer cars have. I know a lot of cars have had these features for several years, gas and electric, but some of the things like the self-driving features, the self-steering, and also even just simply adaptive cruise control. Adaptive cruise control is, I would say, one of my favorite inventions of the past 15 years, and really enjoy vehicles that have the adaptive cruise control. It just makes the driving less tedious, and then as well as the self-steering, self-driving, that just takes a lot of the monotony out of it, because really it's a test of concentration when you're driving, especially if you're driving for many hours on the highway. You really have to, just concentrate on what you're doing and keep that vehicle on the road. You can't look away for more than half a second. And, with all those convenience features there, it's just keeping things safer and making sure that if the human behind the wheel starts to get a bit tired, that the car is there and making sure that things are being safe. And so I really appreciate that safety factor and convenience factor that's been added into it. So those are a few things that I hate and a few things that I love about electric vehicles and how things are right now. Hopefully in a year or 2 or 5, things might change, and we'll see how that goes. So what do you think? Do you have any things that bother you, any pet peeves about driving your electric vehicle or the charging infrastructure or anything along those lines? I say I get 50-50 on those public charging stations. Is that your experience? Do you have a better experience than I have? Let me know in the comments. I'd be glad to hear what your thoughts are on that. And if you found this video interesting or informative, I'd appreciate it if you can give me a thumbs up and consider subscribing for future EV videos. Thanks for watching and have a great day.